Hey guys, in this lab number 4, we're going to work on reviewing how we would combine polynomials. Looking at just some of those different strategies and properties we use to combine polynomials. So it's interesting the way this is set up. So the first part says describe the error that's being made. And this, let me tell you guys, this is the most common error that students make in this class. Thinking that these two guys are equal and they're not. When you have x plus 4 parentheses squared, that means that is x plus 4 times himself x plus 4. It doesn't mean that you distribute that square and call that x squared plus 4 squared. Again, a very common mistake. So, what is the error that was made in this? Well, if we actually did the FOIL method to multiply this out, I'd get x squared plus 4x plus 4x plus 16. Which would give me x squared plus 8x plus 16. So what happened is the middle term is not included. So that is the error. The middle term is not included. So to correct the error, basically, we work it out correctly. So this would be the correct version, or the correct answer, I should say. So we corrected that error. So big deal here. Whenever you have some quantity plus another quantity squared, what you need to do is write it down twice and then use your FOIL method to multiply that out. So the square of a binomial, write it twice, multiply it out. Let's check out some of these where some errors have been committed. What you might want to do is pause and see if you can see. Let's just work on this guy right here. Pause it and see if you can find the error. And then turn the video back on and see if you were correct. You might be able to find the error a little bit easier if you actually work the problem out. On the left-hand side, I've got 9z plus 3 and then parentheses x minus 8. Well, that 3 in front of the parentheses indicates we need to multiply. And we're going to distribute the 3 to the x and the 3 to the 8. It distributes to both pieces in that set of parentheses. When I do that, I would have a 9z on the left plus 3 times x, which is 3x, minus 3 times 8, which is what? 24. So what was the mistake made? Looking at the correct answer here and the incorrect answer up there. It appears that they didn't distribute the 3 to the 8. They distributed it to the x, but not to the 8. So the 3 has to be distributed to both terms. There is our error. The 3 must be distributed to both terms. Well, if you work it out correctly to see where the mistake was made, then we can very easily find the solution down here. By correcting the error and distributing the 3 to both the x and the 8, we end up with 9z plus 3x minus 24. What's the error in the problem to the right, where we have parentheses, and inside those parentheses we have a 7 and an x, and there's an exponent on that, which is a square, and it's saying it is equal to 7x squared. Where is that error? Can you see it? That exponent of 2 applies to the 7 as well as the x. So 7x all squared would be 7 squared times x squared. which would give us 49x squared. So the exponent applies to the coefficient also. And to fix that mistake, the answer would be 49x squared. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, so let's keep in mind these operations that are legitimate that we can do with polynomials. We can only add and subtract like terms. And what we mean by like terms are terms with the same variable to the same exponent. So a 9x and a 6x are like terms. We can combine those to get a 15x. We have to recall the FOIL method for multiplying binomials. We just looked at that earlier. And then when we write our answers, we want it to be in descending powers. That's what we call standard form. And descending powers means those terms that have exponents, like an x to a power or a y to a power, it needs to be in descending powers, which means the highest is first, the highest exponent is going to go first, down to, the lowest. So let's take a look where we want to, at this problem, where we want to subtract and then combine some terms and then put it in standard form. So when you're subtracting polynomials, notice there's a subtraction, and behind that subtraction, the polynomial is in parentheses. What we've got to remember to do is that subtraction has to distribute to every term behind that is contained within those parentheses. That has to be done first. I can't just drop those parentheses. I have to distribute that negative first. When I do that, I end up with a negative x squared, a positive 2x, and a negative 1. Basically, all we did was change the signs on everybody behind it. Once you've taken care of that, gotten rid of the parentheses, now it's time to combine like terms. A 2x squared will combine with a negative x squared. So those two I can combine. Are there any other terms that we could combine here? Well, I have a negative 1 and a positive 1. Those are just basic integers. We could combine those as well. So let's see what we get when we combine like terms. 2x squared minus x squared will just be a 1x squared, or just x squared. There's nothing to combine with the 2x, so I'll bring that positive 2x down. And combining the positive 1 and the negative 1, it's 0. So this is our final answer. And notice it's in descending powers. The x squared comes first. The x to the first power comes second. So it goes from highest power to lowest power. So now, given what we did there, why don't you practice this one? You want to perform the operations and write the result in standard form. So pause it, work it, and then put the video back on and see if you got it right. So the first step would be to distribute this subtraction to the 10z and the 5, making that a negative 10z and a negative 5. Then within this set of brackets, or braces actually, brackets, we would combine any like terms. Notice I'm working my way from the inside out. That's what our order of operations tells us to do. So within these brackets, I have a 3z minus a 10z, which would be a negative 7z. And I still have that subtraction of 5. And then in front, I've got 5z minus that quantity. So working our innermost set of parentheses or grouping symbols first. Now I need to distribute this subtraction that comes in front of that bracket and distribute it to both pieces behind. When I do that, that grouping symbol is gone and I'm left with the 5z up front The negative times the negative 7z, when I distribute that, becomes a positive 7z. And the negative times the negative 5 gives me a plus 5. There's one last thing I can do, and that is combine the 5 and the 7z. What does that give us? Well, the final answer should be 12z plus 5. If you got that, then you are on the right track. Okay, here's a couple more. What do we have here? We've got these 4 left, where we're going to multiply some polynomials. So let's take a look at the first one together. It's a situation where we're going to have to distribute because I have a binomial in the second set of parentheses, and that binomial needs to be multiplied by the term negative 7x. So negative 7x times a 7x and negative 7x times the 4. So we should get negative 49x squared, the negative 7 times the 7, the x times the x, and the negative 7x times the 4 would give me negative 28x. And there's nothing else we could do with that. That would be our final answer. So that's just distributing a monomial to a binomial. Monomial means it just has one term. Now for these next ones, I'm multiplying 2 binomials. So I'm going to need to use the FOIL method on those. And recall this last one, the 5 minus 8x all squared. We need to write it twice and then use the FOIL method. So why don't you work on that FOIL method and come back and check your answers. Okay, so let's look at the results of these operations. Using the FOIL method to multiply 4x minus 2 times 7x minus 6, we distribute the 4 to the 4x to the 7x, the 4x to the negative 6, and then the negative 2 to the 7x, and the negative 2 to the negative 6. We should get 4 terms, the 4 terms you see below, and the 2 inside terms I can combine to get a negative 38x. So 28x squared minus 38x plus 12 would be the result. Let's look at this next one. Using the FOIL method, multiplying the 4a times the 4a, the 4a times the negative 7, 7b times the 4a, and the 7b times the 7b. We should get 4 terms, 16a squared minus 28a plus 28a minus 49b squared. The 2 middle terms combine, but what's interesting here is the 2 middle terms cancel out. Positive 28, negative 28, the middle terms cancel, so we're left with 16a squared minus 49b squared. Okay, and then this last one. 5 minus 8x, the quantity all squared, is written 5 minus 8x times itself, 5 minus 8x. And when we do the FOIL method, I'll get 25 minus 40x minus 40x plus 64x squared. Now remember, our answers need to be written in descending powers, so I'm going to write that 64x squared. Get away. I'm going to write that 64x squared first, combine the two negative 40x's to give me a negative 80x, and then write that positive 25 last. Again, I want to have my answers in descending powers. I hope this was helpful in reviewing the operations on polynomials. Let me know if you have any questions. Have an awesome day.